Vaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayed Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 9. This is a new chapter. The Dynasty of Amsuman. So the chapter summary is given by Srila Prabhupada. I'll read the chapter summary. This chapter describes the history of the dynasty of Amsuman up to Khatwanga, and it also describes how Bhagiratha brought the water of the Ganges to this earth. The son of Maharaj Amsuman was Dilipa, who tried to bring the Ganges to this world but who died without success. Bhagiratha, the son of Dilipa, was determined to bring the Ganges to the material world, and for this purpose he underwent severe austerities. Mother Ganges, being fully satisfied by his austerities, made herself visible to him, wanting to give him a benediction. Bhagiratha then asked her to deliver his forefathers. Although Mother Ganges agreed to come down to earth, she made two conditions. First condition: she wanted some suitable male to be able to control her waves. Second condition: although all sinful men would be freed from sinful reactions by bathing in the Ganges, Mother Ganges did not want to keep all these sinful reactions. These two conditions were subject matters for consideration. Bhagiratha replied to Mother Ganges, "The personality of Godhead Lord Shiva will be completely able to control the waves of your water. And when pure devotees bathe in your water, the sinful reactions left by sinful men will be counteracted." Bhagiratha then performed austerities to satisfy Lord Shiva, who is called Ashutosha because he is naturally satisfied very easily. Lord Shiva agreed to Bhagiratha's proposal to check the force of the Ganges. In this way, simply by the touch of the Ganges, Bhagiratha's forefathers were delivered and allowed to go to the heavenly planets. The son of Bhagiratha was Shruta. The son of Shruta was Nabha, and Nabha's son was Sindhudvipa. The son of Sindhudvipa was Ayutayu, and the son of Ayutayu was Rutuparna, who was a friend of Nala. Rutuparna gave Nala the art of gambling and learned from him the art of Ashwavidya. The son of Rutuparna was known as Sarvakama. The son of Sarvakama was Sudasa, and his son was Saudasa. The wife of Saudasa was named Damayanti or Madayanti, and Saudasa was also known as Kalmashapada. Because of some defect in his fruitive activities, Saudasa was cursed by Vasishta to become a Rakshasa. While walking through the forest, he saw a Brahmana engaged in sex with his wife, and because he had become a Rakshasa, he wanted to devour the Brahmana. Although the Brahmana's wife pleaded with him in many ways, Saudasa devoured the Brahmana, and the wife therefore cursed him, saying, "As soon as you engage in sex, you will die." After 12 years, therefore, even though Saudasa was released from the curse of Vasishta Muni, he remained sonless. At that time, with Saudasa's permission, Vasishta impregnated Saudasa's wife Madayanti. Because Madayanti bore the child for many years but still could not give birth, Vasishta struck her abdomen with a stone, and thus a son was born. The son was named Ashmaka. The son of Ashmaka was known as Balika. He was protected from the curse of Parshurama because of being surrounded by many women, and therefore he is also known as Nari Kavacha. When the entire world was devoured of Kshatriyas, he became the original father of more Kshatriyas. He is therefore sometimes called Mulaka. From Balika, Dasharatha was born. From Dasharatha, this Dasharatha is not Rama's father. From Dasharatha came Aidavidi, and from Aidavidi came Vishwasaha. The son of Vishwasaha was Maharaj Khatwanga. Maharaj Khatwanga joined the demigods in fighting the demons and was victorious, and the demigods therefore wanted to give him a benediction. But when the king inquired how long he would live and understood that his life would last only a few seconds more, he immediately left the heavenly planets and returned to his own abode by airplane. He could understand that everything in the material world is insignificant, and thus he fully engaged in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. That's the end of the summary of this chapter. Now we will chant text number 1. Shri Shuka Vacha Amsuman Cha Tapaha Tepe Amsumamscha tapastepe Amsumamscha tapastepe Ganga Anayana Kamyaya Ganga Nayana Kamyaya Ganga Nayana Kamyaya Kalam Mahantam Nashaknot Kalam Mahantam Nashaknot Tataha Kalena संस्थितः ततः कालेन संस्थितः ततः कालेन संस्थितः श्रीशुक उवाच अंशुमांश्च तपस्तेपे गङ्गानयनकाम्यया कालं महान्तं नाशक्नोत् ततः कालेन संस्थितः श्रीशुक उवाच श्रीशुकः उवाच Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Amsuman, the king named Amsuman, cha also tapah tepe executed austerity, Ganga, the Ganges, Anayana Kamyaya, with a desire to bring the Ganges to this material world, to deliver his forefathers. Kalam, time, Mahantam, for a long duration, na, not, Ashaknot, was successful. Tataha, thereafter, Kalena, in due course of time, Samsthitaha, died. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shukadev Goswami continued, King Amsuman, like his grandfather, performed austerities for a very long time. Nonetheless, he could not bring the Ganges to this material world, and thereafter, in due course of time, he died. I'll read the next few verses. Text 2. Dilipas sutas tadvad ashakta kalam eyivan Bhagirathastasya sutaha tepe sasumahat tapaha. Translation. Like Amsuman himself, Dilipa, his son, was unable to bring the Ganges to this material world, and he also became a victim of death in due course of time. Then Dilipa's son, Bhagiratha, performed very severe austerities to bring the Ganges to this material world. Text 3. Darshayamasa tam devi prasanna varadasmite prasanna varadasmite ityukta svam abhiprayam shasham savanato nrupaha. Translation. Thereafter, Mother Ganges appeared before King Bhagiratha and said, I am very much satisfied with your austerities and am now prepared to give you benedictions as you desire. Being this addressed by Ganga Devi, Mother Ganges, the king bowed his head before her and explained his desire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The king's desire was to deliver his forefathers who had been burnt to ashes because of disrespecting Kapila Muni. So I'll pause here. We'll discuss these 3 verses. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanishalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a new chapter describing the dynasty of Amsuman. Amsuman was the king who helped his grandfather to complete the Ashwamedha Yajna. The Ashwamedha Yajna was incomplete because the sacrificial horse was stolen by Indra, and that sacrificial horse was attempted to be searched by the sons of Sagara, and they found the horse outside Kapila Muni's ashram, but they foolishly, being proud of their achievement in searching the horse, they foolishly thought that Kapila Muni is the thief of the horse. So they tried to attack him, and immediately they were all burnt to ashes. 60,000 sons of Sagara. And then the grandson of Sagara Maharaj, by name Amsuman, he went searching for the horse because the sacrificial ceremonies, Ashwamedha Yajna, was incomplete. Without the sacrificial horse, it could not be completed. So he went searching, and he went in the same route that his uncles, his father's brothers, took. And he reached Kapila Muni's ashrama, and he saw a heap of ashes, and he understood. Of course, he had heard that his uncles were burned to ashes because they foolishly tried to insult Kapila Muni, falsely accusing him of stealing the horse. So Amsuman recognized Kapila Muni as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has appeared in the form of a sage. And Amsuman offered wonderful prayers to Kapila Muni. Kapila Muni was very pleased with the prayers, and he gave the sacrificial horse and said, you can take this and your grandfather can complete the sacrifice, horse sacrifice. Then Amsuman was not satisfied with just this benediction. So Kapila Muni could understand that Amsuman wanted his uncles to be delivered. So then Kapila Muni said, your uncles will be delivered only by the Ganges river, by the waters of the Ganges. So then Amsuman actually took that sacrificial horse and came back and handed over that horse to his grandfather, who performed the Ashwamedha Yajna. After performing the Ashwamedha Yajna, immediately Sagara Maharaj, as he had been instructed by one Aurva Muni about the goal of life. Goal of life is not to become a successful king or a successful businessman or a successful householder. No, it is to actually attain self-realization. So he handed over charge of ruling the kingdom to his grandson Amsuman and retired from all his householder duties and went away to the forest to execute austerities and attain self-realization. And he was successful in attaining self-realization and going back to Godhead. Amsuman then was ruling the kingdom. He still had the task of bringing the river Ganga to the earth to deliver his forefathers. So this is where this chapter begins. King Amsuman, like his grandfather, performed austerities for a very long time. For what purpose? With a desire to bring the Ganga river to the material world to deliver his forefathers. Even though he performed austerities for a very long time, he was not successful in bringing the river Ganga to this earth planet. And he died in course of time. Time is limited. Though we may not be conscious of how much time is there before death comes, we are warned in the scriptures that death can come any time. Actually, nobody knows when they are going to die. This is a fact. This is a real fact of life in the material world. Nobody knows when they are going to die. Everybody knows they are going to die. Everyone knows. But when am I going to die? How much time more I have in this body? Nobody knows. Some very, very rare, fortunate persons may come to know about death before death comes. Example, Parikshit Maharaj. You can realize how fortunate was Parikshit Maharaj. 7 days before his death, when he was cursed by the Brahmana boy, he came to know he is going to die of a snake bite within 7 days. And Parikshit Maharaj is no ordinary soul. The Bhagavatam says he could have counteracted that curse very easily, because he himself was a great personality. He was a Mahatma. He was a great devotee. A devotee can counteract any curse by any Brahmana, by any tapasvi, very easily. That is the position of a devotee, like Parikshit Maharaj. But Parikshit Maharaj's reasoning is very important for all of us. He reasoned, even if I counteract this curse, I have to die someday. I cannot avoid death completely by counteracting this curse. So instead of counteracting the curse, he decided, let me prepare for death within the next 7 days. So this is a very important lesson for all of us, which is actually a lesson which is taught by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? In the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna, because in the 7th chapter, Krishna says, after describing Bhakti Yoga, beginning to describe Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga is described by Krishna in 6 chapters in great detail. In the end of the 6th chapter, Krishna says, of all types of yogis, the Bhakti Yogi is the topmost yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Yoga means to connect with Krishna. Now to connect with Krishna, there are different processes. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi jnanibhyopi matodhikaha karmibhyaschadiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Instead of simply executing some pious activities or cultivating some spiritual knowledge or even performing some tapasya simply for some material benefit, one should do all these activities for ultimate success in connecting oneself with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is the success in life, which is actually the way to get out of material existence, which is the way to come out of material entanglement and go back to Godhead. So in very brief one verse, Krishna explains, whatever be your process you may adopt, ultimately you have to connect with Krishna. So then which process shall I adopt? Tapasya, or shall I adopt the process of jnana or the process of karma? Krishna says neither of these three are the best, though they are also processes recommended in the scriptures. They are recommended for those who are faithless. Ashraddhadhana Purusha. In the 9th chapter, Krishna explains that. So Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham. There are different types of yogis, but of all of them, Madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate. Those who are always abiding in me with great faith. Madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan, with great faith. Worshipping me in transcendental loving service. Bhajate yoma. Is most intimately united with me in yoga. Same yukta tamo mataha. So, the complete development of one's relationship with Krishna is possible only by Bhakti Yoga. And all other processes are different stages of re-establishing our lost connection with Krishna. So very simple example Prabhupada gives, that if you have to go to the top floor of a particular building, then you may take the staircase or you may take the elevator. The staircase will gradually take you one floor at a time. If you have to go to the 20th floor, you will have to go first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor, sixth floor, like that. One floor at a time. Whereas the elevator is very special. It can take you directly to the topmost floor. Directly it can take you to the topmost floor. So Prabhupada says, Bhakti Yoga is like that, like the elevator. And the other yoga processes are different levels of elevation. And those who adopt the gradual process, because they are unable to take up the process of bhakti, they are going through the staircase. So, I have experience. I used to stay in a 16-storied building in Mumbai when I was in school. So, we had an elevator, obviously, for a 16-storied building. But sometimes when there would be power failure, of course, when the elevator becomes dysfunctional, then we had a 24/7 maintenance team which would set right almost immediately. Because somebody is in the elevator, then they're stuck up, then what will happen to them? They had to be rescued. So there was a good maintenance team, so there was no problem with the functioning of the elevator as such. But when there is a power failure, we didn't have generator those days in our building. So the elevator will come to a particular floor and stop. That was the arrangement. And then the people from the elevator have to get out and then use the stairs to go wherever they want to go. And this power failure, sometimes it is just half an hour. So people will think, oh, I can't climb the stairs, I'll wait half an hour. After the power comes, I'll use the elevator. Those who stay in the upper floors particularly, they have to go from the ground floor to the 15th floor or 13th floor and all. Who will climb 13 floors? So, half an hour power cut, okay, we'll wait half an hour. But if the power cut is 4 hours, 5 hours, then who's going to wait 5 hours? So slowly they'll climb little by little. Then the other neighbors, supposing they climb 2 floors, then the second floor people of the building will say, please come sit inside our house, take little rest. Let us see, power may come back in another half an hour. If it doesn't come back, then they'll climb 2 more floors. Then they'll go and take some rest in the 4th floor. So, these other yoga systems are like this. One has to start with karma yoga. Like those who are engaged in sinful activities, they can never even think or imagine about self-realization. No. They have to be in this material world, bound up by sinful reactions, suffer, life after life after life. But if somebody is fortunate to understand or realize that the cause of my suffering is sinful activities, then immediately they stop all sinful activities. That is when they become pious. And then they engage only in pious activities. As soon as they stop all sinful activities and engage in pious activities, they are on the path of self-realization. Just performing stopping sinful activities and performing only pious activities is the beginning of karma yoga. Is the beginning of karma yoga. But then, while performing pious activities, because they still have material desires, they may not exactly desire for ultimate liberation by performing pious activities. Therefore, Krishna says in the 46th verse of the 6th chapter, Karmibhyaschadhiko yogi. What does it mean? A yogi is greater than a fruitive worker, a karmi. Karmi means one who performs pious activities. But if the goal of performing pious activities is not self-realization, then such a person is actually not going to achieve self-realization. Instead, will remain entangled in this material world. Will remain entangled in the material world. So, yogi here means one whose aim is to link up with the Supreme Lord, to establish the lost relationship with the Supreme Lord, and to have that goal of practicing this, performing only pious activities or any other process for establishing the relationship with the Supreme. That is how we distinguish between karmi and karma yogi. Karmi means one who performs pious activities, but the goal is not ultimate liberation. Karma yogi means one who is performing pious activities, but the goal is ultimate liberation from material bondage. So such a person understands that even if I perform pious activities by which I may elevate myself to heavenly planets, none of the heavenly planets are actually free from this material bondage. Residents of the heavenly planets are not free from material bondage. So therefore, a karma yogi is greater than a karmi. That's the meaning of karmibhyaschadhiko yogi. Now, after performing karma yoga for many, many lifetimes, because merely performing pious activities is not going to lead to freedom from material bondage, because pious activities in themselves are simply elevating one from a lower status in material life to a higher status. So they can keep on elevating themselves up to a certain level by all pious activities. But beyond that, one has to cultivate spiritual knowledge. So therefore, by performing karma yoga many lifetimes, one comes to the stage of jnana, cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Who am I? What is this world? What is real liberation? Why material bondage? How to become free from the cycle of birth and death? These are all questions which are answered when one cultivates spiritual knowledge in the process of jnana yoga. So this particular knowledge is given in a portion of the Vedas called the Upanishads. The bulk of the Vedas is about pious activities. What is sinful and what is pious. So avoid sinful activities, perform pious activities. And if somebody has done some pious activities, some sinful activities, How to counteract those sinful activities? By prayaschitta. Is there a limited number of activities which are called sinful activities? No. So many types of sin people can do. Therefore, the recommendation for different types of prayaschitta, for different types of sinful activities, is very, very, very elaborately described in the Vedas. So there are recommendations of yajna, dana, tapa. Different types of yajnas, different types of dana, different types of vrata, for different types of material benefits through different types of pious activities, and different types of prayaschitta for different types of sinful activities. And what is sin? What is the pious way? What is the sinful way of doing some activity, so that you don't become entangled in sinful reactions, avoid sinful reactions. So this is the bulk of the Vedas, is this portion called Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda is all about this pious activity, sinful activity, prayaschitta, and elevation to some particular planet which has got some particular facility, some other planet has got some other benefit, some other planet has got some other benefit. So many planets are there. Vidyadhara Loka, Charana Loka, Gandharva Loka, this Loka, that Loka, so many. Kinnara Loka, Kimpurusha Loka. The number of such lokas is plenty, because people have plenty of desires. And to satisfy their desires and provide that facility for that kind of enjoyment, there are different types of lokas. So therefore, the bulk of the Vedas is Karma Kanda. Now some small portion of the Vedas is called Jnana Kanda, for those who are done with all these type of material desires and realize the futility of these material pleasures, fulfillment of the material desires. For them, the Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda is the process of jnana, cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Who am I? I am spirit soul, I am not the body. Of course, I am telling it in a very simple way. It's not explained in such a simple way in the Upanishads. Tat Tvam Asi. 3 words in the Vedanta Sutra. And similarly in the Upanishads also very, very cryptic statements. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kama. All very, very cryptic descriptions of who you are. Even if somebody comes to know, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. What is the nature of that Brahman? What is Brahman itself? You keep on reading so many Upanishads. First of all, you require a proper teacher to understand the Upanishads. The language of the Upanishads is not so simple to understand. And even if you somehow get hold of a Sanskrit scholar, he'll confuse you more than what you already know. So it's very, very confusing. It's very confusing. Because the subject matter to be realized is different than merely what is communicated through the words. In some places in the scriptures it is said that the supreme absolute truth cannot be described by words. Nirvachaniya. So then again you become confused. If it cannot be described by words, then what are they trying to describe in all these Upanishads about the Supreme? So many descriptions are there. What is all this description? So therefore, to understand what is being told, you require a pure devotee of Krishna. One who knows Krishna can describe the Vedas, because ultimately the goal of all Vedas is to understand Krishna. And trying to understand Krishna by any other method other than bhakti is not possible. Even though Krishna's subordinate aspects called Brahman and Paramatma can be realized by Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga being practiced under experts for millions of years, and then come to the understanding of the partial understanding of the absolute truth. But that is also very it's incomplete. It is not very satisfying to the soul. Ultimately, it is not going to lead to ultimate liberation. So therefore, Karma Kanda leading to Jnana Kanda, or Karma Yoga leading to Jnana Yoga leading to Ashtanga Yoga, the yoga of severe austerities, tapasya. So Jnanibhyopi matodikaha, simply cultivating knowledge for some material benefit or material purpose. Better than that, better than a jnani is a jnana yogi. Jnana yogi is one who is cultivating knowledge, spiritual knowledge, for the sake of self-realization, ultimate liberation. Then tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi, Ashtanga Yoga also. If the goal is self-realization, then such a person is actually a yogi. A yogi. Not simply a tapasvi. Because there are so many tapasvis who got some power and they want to utilize that power for getting some ashtasiddhi, for cheating people by manufacturing gold from the air. It is one of the siddhis actually. Nobody can manufacture gold from the air. It is just that they are stealing gold from some place by extending their subtle hand, which cannot be seen by anybody, and picking it up. It's called Prapti Siddhi. Prapti Siddhi. So, this Siddhi as the goal, such a person is a tapasvi. He is a material interest of practicing tapasya, some material desire. But if the goal is self-realization, then such a person is a yogi, Ashtanga yogi. He practices tapasya for the sake of self-realization. He is better. A yogi is better than a tapasvi or a jnani or a karmi. But Krishna says the best of all yogis is the devotee. Because only a devotee can attain ultimate self-realization, because only bhakti helps us to understand the highest aspect of the absolute truth, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of Brahman and Paramatma, the source of everything. So therefore, the Parikshit Maharaj, he did not counteract the curse. That's where I started describing what is the use of counteracting the curse. Because the ultimate goal is to return to Krishna, to return to our original Krishna consciousness. Through what? Through practicing bhakti yoga. So he decided, next 7 days, let me fully focus on Krishna consciousness and simply return to Krishna, Krishna's abode. He decided like that, and he retired from his kingdom, and next 7 days he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in that way he prepared himself to go back to God. So this should be the consciousness, that don't worry when death is going to come. Death is certain, but don't worry when death is going to come. Be concerned about how you're going to spend your time till death comes, whatever the time may be. And also we should remember, we do not know exactly when death is going to come. Sometimes people think, well, I'll die when I'm old. And that's a general case, but what is the exact time when it is declared that a person is sufficiently old to die? Sometimes we see people die when they are so young, and some old people, they are waiting to die, but they are not dying. You go and ask them, so how are you? Oh, I am having so many problems. I don't know when I'm going to die. I wish I die right now. I don't have any more desire for living. See, this is because they don't know that they are spirit soul. They do not know that life is meant for self-realization. Life is not meant for enjoying the body. That they do not know. Unfortunately, they are not educated, or they are not tried to find out. Their human faculty of intelligence and inquiry, they have not utilized. Every human being has got this facility to inquire, to find out, to use the intelligence to understand, who am I? What is my goal of life? Everybody has got this. Most people misuse this facility because they will use their intelligence for so many other things, but they will never utilize their intelligence to understand who they are or what is the goal of this life. They'll never use their intelligence for this. And even if they are educated, they will not use their intelligence properly, because the use of intelligence is in your hands. You can utilize your intelligence the way you want. That freedom is given to you. Nobody is going to dictate how you use your intelligence. Nobody can curtail your facility to use your intelligence the way you want. See, people are undergoing so much austerity to do so much of research is going on. So much of research is going on. So much of technological innovation is going on around the world. So much. There was a visitor 2 weeks back. I'll conclude with this last point. This visitor of mine works in Facebook in America. Facebook company. Facebook is social media. Billions of people use. And this visitor works in that Facebook company. So I was asking, what is the latest innovation in Facebook? It is a goggle they wear, and in that they can actually see virtual reality. So you're transported to another world by that virtual reality program, and then you are part of that, actually what is being shown. It is something like 3D effect is there in that. You are not a passive observer. Just like now you have a television screen or a computer screen or whatever, or your mobile. In that you can see whatever program is being broadcast or whatever program is stored. You can see that, some cinema or some picture or some movie or whatever discourse, anything you can see. Here you are part of that cinema or part of that program. Of course, it is called virtual reality. You are not actually part of the program, but some simulation, some kind of thing. Okay. So then I was just inquiring, so what are your plans for retirement? Oh, I think I'll retire another 10 years. Actually, it's time for retirement, but the person was telling, I'll retire another 10 years.
Okay, then what will you do after retirement? I'll keep traveling between India and America. I've got one apartment in America, I've got one apartment in India. I keep traveling and enjoying life. So I said, yeah, it's a good idea to enjoy life, but do you know how to really enjoy life? Yeah, the good things, try to help people, be nice to others. See, the ignorance is so much deep-rooted that a person doesn't even know that I am ignorant about what is the truth or reality. This clue itself, how do you get this clue that actually I'm ignorant? It requires a certain type of intelligence called spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is, I don't want miseries. Why are miseries being forced upon me? Why are miseries being forced upon me? I don't want miseries. So I tried to explain to this visitor of mine that you should inquire into who you are. What is this world? What is the truth? What is the reality behind what is being seen? So it's time you did this inquiry. Okay. Did not accept that so very nicely. Said, okay, fine. So very difficult, especially people who are very successful in their career or in their this thing. They think that they are nicely situated and they have attained success in life. Because the society also has set wrong parameters of success for people. That you have a good job, you have good health, you have nice family, you have a nice home, you have nice children, then you are a successful person. What else? What more is there in life? Yes, materially, what more is there? But our scriptures say there is more, because there is life after death. So if you want to really enjoy life, continue to enjoy life, then you should plan to elevate yourself to heavenly planets where there is better facility for enjoyment. But even those people who have knowledge about a next life and elevation to heavenly planets, even they are not the most intelligent. At least they got a clue to aim for something beyond this life. So this spiritual intelligence is given in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam as explained by the pure devotee Acharya. Only then we will actually make inquiries and will not waste time with Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, Tapasya Kanda, nothing. We will simply take to devotional service and very easily perfect our life by bhakti, especially chanting Hare Krishna, and go back to God. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.